안녕하세요. 안정원입니다.
Hello, my name is An
Good afternoon, and thank
Jong-moon.
you for the opportunity to share and spend a couple minutes here, a few minutes. And I understand this morning there was a lot of different discussion and some concerns or maybe some suggestions regarding AI and what does AI mean? Well, how is that going to impact this particular industry, which is happening as we speak? And I actually want to share a case study actually around that as one of at the conclusion here. If there's three takeaways regarding what's going on with AI and high performance computing that I can just mark at the front here, is number one is Gen AI and large language model has evolved to agents and now is agentic. So agentic platforms is the word of the day. Agentic platforms is where every organization, every enterprise, every country is going to need an agentic platform. And that agentic platform is going to then be able to activate all these agents that are going to then do the activity, do the work. It is going to redefine the workforce of the future. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, your father's data center of the past is debunked. And I don't know if anybody saw the news today of NVIDIA and Intel actually announcing a joint partnership to actually tackle this situation, which is a sustainability issue regarding the data centers around the world. All the data centers in the world cannot process the amount of data and the high-speed computing that is required for AI. Cannot. You need to have an advanced chip in order to do that kind of processing, okay? So that is the, if you will, why NVIDIA is, I didn't check today, 4-point-something trillion for a 40,000 person organization. There are only 40,000, about 40,000 NVIDIANs around the world at 4 trillion market cap, okay? So every data center needs to become an AI factory. And if you follow Jensen Huang at all, he talks about AI factory all the time, all the time. So an AI factory is what you need. And if you just think about it, and you just think about your lives today, there is data. Think about the amount of data that is created every day. More data every day. Every text message you send, every search that you do on Google or Kakao or on Naver, right? All of that is data. And where does that data go? It goes into the data centers, right? So that you can search it and that you can use that data, that you can find insights from that data. The last third point that I'll leave you with is that the robots are here. So anybody who's thinking that robots are down the path, they're not, it's going to be a long time before robots are really here, that's wrong. The robots are here. I don't know if you've ever been to San Francisco recently, but there's Waymo taxis that are going around and flying around the city, completely working pretty well, So robots are here. The drones are also another form of robots. Humanoid robots are interesting in concept. I know there are a few Korean companies that are actually very deep and very advanced in experimenting with humanoids robots, but the robots of, if you think about manufacturing, if you think about, again, the future of automotive and autonomous vehicle, you're starting to see that that's happening. So I would leave you that the third point is that the robots are here, and to figure out how to embrace them, figure out what that means, again, for our global environment and sustainability moving forward. These are difficult topics, topics that I think warrant this kind of brain trust to actually consider and think through. So with that, I would just share with you that a couple just different pages. When I look at FSI, what we call financial services industry, we Deloitte, we see these basic trends that are happening. Again, I talked about generative AI, and I would hope that all of you are very familiar with generative AI and are using it every day. And again, I don't know if you've seen the recent commercials, but if you are just searching and typing in the Google bar and expecting an answer back, you are at stage one. That is basic. That is basic generative AI. Intelligent automation, this is where now the world is trending toward. Intelligent automation is what I talked about as AI agents. Agents actually doing tasks. Agents actually doing tasks of a person, of a human. It's the future, it's the start of the next generation of workforce. It's your next workforce. And again, as agents become sophisticated and you connect agents between agents, that's when you become agentic. That's when you need an agentic platform to house all these agents, to do the work, Okay, AI-driven customer experience, this is something that, again, some of the banks around the world, I can say that I'm actually headed to Germany tomorrow to meet with a bank specifically about the customer experience, who have experimented endlessly with how to improve the customer experience using AI, going beyond chatbots, like looking for, again, how do smart bots actually start to do the service for the customer, right? It's a whole nother step, if you will, in how to look at agents and how to look at Gen AI. And then I'd leave you with the last one, strategic AI and risk management. I think that should be clear. I think what's really interesting is if you look at the value chain, and I just call out the banking, if I was to look at banking, and these are the major components of banking, and you look at then underneath that, sort of the main value chain, right, the value of a bank. And what we highlighted for you here is, again, in the dark, is that green? The dark green are activities that will be nearly taken over by agentic AI. And I would welcome anyone to have a conversation about that, but the darker green ones, you really should expect those are going to be done by 100% of AI, and that will be an agentic workforce. And the lighter blue-ish green, again, a lot of that activity we also see is going to also be involving AI, agentic AI agents. And then you might say, well, you know, that's a good high level, but what about like at that next level of detail? So in anticipation that somebody might be interested in that next level of detail, I just throw up this slide. I hope it's not, it's an eye chart, so I'm not expecting anyone to read it. But I just thought it would be interesting just to kind of, again, highlight when you do talk about some of these, you know, customer acquisition, underwriting, product and inventory management, et cetera, you can just see very specifically like what's happening here in some of those highlights, right? Some of those different AI use cases. I wanted to share a bank, what we're doing with a bank right now. We are on a 3-year journey with this bank. This bank is a $100 billion in assets under management, 8,000 employees, retail banking, payments, e-commerce, wealth management, investing, corporate banking services. And their goal, the CEO's goal, the CEO agenda, is sustained profitability while pioneering a new approach to banking, okay? This CEO, and that's the CEO I'm actually meeting next week in Spain, what we did was, there's so many different use cases as you can see. I mean, this is a fraction of what's going on, of the application of Gen AI. This is a fraction. And what we did with this bank is we actually looked at over 200 of those kinds of use cases to figure out what makes sense to do immediately, right, that fits in with strategic priorities. And so we are working on actually 30 use cases, 30 agents, if you will, with this bank. And we've developed an architecture overall. We're building an operating model for this bank. And importantly, you know, implementing actually the first wave, if you will, of this agentic AI. And some of the results, as you can see in the bottom there, some of the results are 85% improvement in process and including cost, 85%. And that's just with, I think, 4, right? 4 MVPs, minimal viable product, MVP, not most valuable player. Minimal viable product, the first 4 of those delivering already some immediate value for this bank. So this is just an example, again, it's a 3-year journey with this bank, right, to become more of an AI-powered bank, right, becoming AI, an AI bank. And this is an example where I think embracing the change, right, understanding today what is the difference between Gen AI and agentic, where are you on the journey from moving from a data center of CPU technology to a complementary CPU and GPU environment, right? Thinking about how are the robots going to offer opportunity, but how are the robots also going to be able to change the way that I think about my workforce, right? That is, I think, again, just to summarize, those 3 motions are in play. And I think, I think they all do impact and have significant potential opportunity for this industry. So I think that was basically it I wanted to share with you. I look forward to the discussion.